To me, it is one of the most iconic and symbolic modernist buildings in Newcastle.
It's a terrific building. Its structure is all expressed.
It's listed by the Institute of Architects as a building of significance. It's iconic. It represents a good example of modernism.
The way it was built, the way it was constructed, it's a very simple design, but complex in its outcome.
Briefly, I was the architect associated with the fountain, which was a controversial project. And as a result of that project, the town clerk was impressed by what I had done. He said, I'd like you to do this new administration building, which is a huge jump from a fountain which was worth about, say, 80,000 up to something which was 2.5 million. But there was a slight conflict within the council between Burgess, who was the town clerk, and Badley, who was the city engineer. There was a division, and Badley had a different opinion. He wanted Romberg, who was the Dean of the Faculty of Architecture at the time. So we formed an association which was Romberg and Boyd, Wilson and Suitors.
It was very clearly brutalist, and that came through Romberg, and the true inspiration for this building came from the Boston Town Hall. And the Boston Town Hall had its roots in a monastery designed by Le Corbusier in France. So that eventually comes through to the young Brian Suitors, and the rhythm you see in the building, that's where its whole proportion and its makeup of its facade came from.
I don't think it is brutal. It's more a development of modernism where function and structure come together. I think people think if you use concrete, that's brutal. We saw that the round building would be the completion of the civic precinct, the town hall, Nesca House, which was Art Deco modern, and we were on the other flank. The curved shape really came from a reference back to Nesca House, and also the fact it was a triangular site. The circle fits within a triangle. The circular shape also allowed us to increase the footprint because we're on the ground, we're contained by the triangle. So we cantilevered the top 3 floors 2.1 metres, so that really doubled the footprint of the building.
It was very tricky to get out of the ground.
First year of architecture, we site visited that to look at how they did the bentonite retaining wall to keep water out, and that was technically very, very interesting. We'd never seen a building like that in Newcastle.
This was a very political project. It was in the 60s and 70s where the BLF was at its strength. After 1 week, we had a 7-week strike. That project was supposed to take 2 years and it took 5 years to build. It was supposedly a fixed price contract of about 2.6 million, which seems like peanuts today, but it doubled to 5.2.
The difficulty of turning the existing building that was the council administration centre into a hotel seemed very daunting at the start. So it works far better as a hotel layout because it's circular, which gives it efficiency than it was as an office building.
I don't know whether it was ever well suited for office space. Putting square furniture in a round building is quite hard. There's no end, there's no corners, easily get lost.
It was always interesting to be working in a round building. It can be a little bit disconcerting, so it's really exciting to see that that's got a new life.
Good buildings allow adaptation and become heritage buildings because they can be adapted and used. Single-use buildings are bad environmentally and they don't last.
This one we didn't have to demolish. We had to strip it out of the internal and all of that got recycled. It's also very sustainable as a building to keep its temperature stable because of the concrete and because of the shading of all of the blades that shade the window. So it's already, and that was a credit to Brian Suitors, it already follows a very sustainable principle that came out of where he comes from in terms of the modernism, right? So that you do shade your glass. You don't just make a big glass box.
As you come climbing up the stairs to the reception, your view is looking up at the building, and that's why we've introduced this really significantly highly detailed ceiling into the reception lobby with these feathers coming off that core.
We smoke and mirrored the foyer to create a panorama that doesn't exist. It's actually mirror reflections of the smaller foyer to make it look 10 times bigger than it really is. It looks circular, but when you actually look at the facade, each window is a straight line. So it's actually a multifaceted object as opposed to a circular object. So it has 60 facets, right, which I really love because there are 60 minutes in a clock and we face the town hall clock. So we have a clock in plan. Each is 6 degrees, but then you have a tangent on your 6 degrees, which makes a flat surface. In terms of developing this to a hotel, we realised that we needed to add a couple of floors and really wanted to add the restaurant bar level so that the public can actually achieve the view. The best view in town is the public's view by coming to the restaurant or the bar. This is the first building, other than say the top of the cathedral tower, which very few people go to, that actually opens the 360-degree view up to the public and to the people of Newcastle, but also the visitors and the tourists of Newcastle. But not only is it view, it's wonderful view, right? It's a working harbour with water. It's up Stockton Bight to Nelson Bay with water. It's to the south down to Dudley and you see the water. So you realise Newcastle's just a little peninsula with more water around it than most cities in the world.